You gotta look at the camera. Hello guys, thank y'all for joining us tonight. It's been a while since we've been live, and we're gonna chat about our experience about taking the driver's test for the motorhome and the experience that we had from day one going through the process of doing all this. And I will have to tell you, Kevin took care of all of that for me because there's no way I could have done it. He set up the test. And tell them about what we had. Well, when we first bought the motorhome, just to give y'all some backstory, I wanted to be able to learn how to drive the motorhome in the event that something happened to him, and vice versa. And I didn't want to be in a situation where I was stuck not being able to get us home. So when we purchased the motorhome from McLean's in Sanger? Denton. There is a gentleman there that they told us about that actually does like a 3-day course, and so that's what we took. And I'll have Kevin explain the rest for you.
So during that course, we learned that we needed not a special license per se to drive this RV or any RV, but just a different class of license. So the course was actually over a period of 2 days, and we did basic driving maneuvers during that course, but it allowed us to learn how to back, how to turn, how to stop. It educated us on the air brake system within this particular rig, so that was very helpful. But coming out of that, we learned that we needed a different class of license so that we could legally drive this RV. Let me say this, there was a ton of debate when we told other RVers and other people that we were getting a different class of license. Most people's reaction was, you don't need a special license to drive an RV.
Right.
It's not necessarily a special license, it's a different class of license. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And the one thing that I want you to understand about this video is this is our experience and what we learned. And so we wanted people to maybe have some information so that they could better inform themselves. This is not by any means an instructional or a video that says you have to do any specific thing. We'll post the link in our chat feed about where we got this information from. I'm actually going to read straight from the information on the Texas Department of Transportation about the different licenses, so that you will have some knowledge of what you need to do.
Let's talk a little bit about the 2-day course that we took. So when we took the 2-day course in Denton, the gentleman that we took the course from actually came to us, and he will actually go to anybody, but we were already at the McLean's, and they have a little section in the back. It's a 4 hookup where you can actually hook your motorhome or RV at, and we left from there. And I will tell you that from the female's perspective, I have never been behind a wheel on a driving motorhome. I didn't even drive the fifth wheel, so that was a huge experience for me. And all I can say is that if I can do it, anybody can do it, because I was scared at first. I had some anxiety, but once I got on the road, and the teacher that actually taught us made us feel really, he calmed me down, and I felt like I took a lot from that course. So.
Well, and I would agree with that.
I'm going to turn the fan on a little bit because it's a little hot.
When you drive one of these for the first time, it's big. And so when you turn corners and everything else, even though I had driven the truck and the fifth wheel a lot, driving this is different because this doesn't have a swivel or a joint in the middle of it to assist you in going around corners and everything else. It's one solid 42-foot vehicle, and so you have to drive it a little differently than you would, a truck and a fifth wheel. The other thing too is the tires are a lot bigger. It's just
where you have to turn too.
Right. This would be considered a cab over vehicle in the trucking world. The front wheels are actually positioned behind you when you're driving the vehicle. So when you turn the front of this vehicle, you're actually beyond the turn of the vehicle.
Yeah.
When you're driving your car or your truck, the wheels are turning before you are. Well, on this particular vehicle, the wheels are turning after we do. So it's a little bit different when you start learning to do that. People, for the first time when they sit in the cab,
it's very intimidating.
They realize when you show them how to turn the vehicle, they're like, "Oh, we're going to hit that car in front of us," but you're not. It has such a tight turning radius, and where it's turning is different. So it's a totally different feeling. And while I'm on that subject too, I really want to give a shout out to my brother-in-law, Sammy. He came with us during our adventure over to the Department of Public Safety in Garland because we needed someone that was legal to drive the vehicle over there. So we give a big shout out to Sammy. He made it possible for us to even do this. Turns out, at the end of the day, we did a lot of things that we didn't really need to do, but I'll explain that in a minute.
So after we did that 2-day course, we decided that, we're going to practice driving the motorhome ourselves after we brought it home to our base camp, is what I'm going to call it. We live in an RV park here in Fort Worth, and so this is what we call base camp. And I guess we did that in May is when you set us up for
Well,
the course.
we actually got us the course started in April, but we've driven the vehicle a number of times so that we could practice with it. Basically, we've driven it with and without the trailer so that we could get some feel for it. We used parking lots a lot.
Yes.
Big parking lot over in a mall near here. We drive over there and just practice in that parking lot.
And then we were told to study a certain section of the handbook, basically.
It's actually the Commercial Driver's License Handbook.
Yeah.
It's actually that handbook. And for the type of license or the class of license that we applied for, you're tested over one section.
Yes.
But most people, if you listen and read information on the internet, they'll tell you to study Chapter 2, Chapter 5, and Chapter 14. Chapter 2 is basic safe driving, and it's a big chapter. It has a lot of information in it, but it is extremely helpful to read that. Chapter 5 is over the air brakes. If your rig does not have air brakes, it's not going to be applicable to you. That section alone is also very helpful, especially in a rig like this one. And then Chapter 14 is just the general information, and that's actually the section that you're tested on. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of test questions based on, specifically on Chapter 14. So we'll put a link to that as well, and we're going to put a link to the actual guidelines that define the classes of license for the state of Texas.
And how we found out about the testing part when we actually went to Weatherford to take the test.
Well, let me back up a little bit about this too. Nothing that I could find on the internet helped me to understand what exactly needed to happen.
Yeah.
When I got my last license, it was a motorcycle license. I went down to the Department of Motor Vehicle, actually happened to be in Cleburne, Texas. I went down there, I took the written test, and I took the driving test all in the same day. Just walk in, no appointment, no nothing. Well, it was a long time ago, and same with my car. Walked in, signed up, took the written exam, and then took the driving test all in the same day. Actually, in both tests, a DPS officer was the one that actually did the test for us. So that process has changed a lot.
Yes.
So what we did, or what I did, was I went online with the Department of Public Safety's website, and I made 2 separate appointments. One, an appointment for me and her the first time was for the written exam. And basically, you can do the written exam at any Department of Public Safety office. You just have to have an appointment. It's critical that you have an appointment to go do the exam. But depending on your rig, you're going to either apply for a Class B or a Class A non-CDL.
And we'll talk about that in a minute.
And I'm specific about that because this is a recreational vehicle. It's for my own use. I'm not using it as a commercial vehicle. So the license that I originally applied for was a Class A non-CDL or a Class A exempt license. So you don't have to have a commercial driver's license. And people, when you say, oh, I'm going for a Class A, as soon as they hear that, they think, oh, you're getting a commercial driver's license. Well, that's not actually true. It's not a commercial driver's license. It's the same license, it's just a different class. And you're tested over the safe operation and driving of a recreational vehicle. That's what they're testing you for. And so that's what they tested both she and I for. The written exam is over that, and then the driving portion is over that.
And the written
as well.
exam is 20 questions. It's really quick. I actually failed my first test because I didn't study the right part. That's how we found out that we had studied the wrong portion of the test. And of course, Kevin, doing this most of his life, he knew the answers right away. Me, I did not know the first thing about anything, and once I went back and restudied, I passed the second time with no problem because I knew what to study.
And you have some testing anxiety too.
I do. I have some high testing anxiety to the point where my stomach gets so messed up that I have to go and make some potty breaks like 6 or 8 times before I take any type of test.
TMI.
Well, it's true. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Testing in general doesn't bother me, but yeah, I never knew that until we did this test that she has some real testing
I
anxiety.
break out in a rash. I get hot.
Yeah.
My hands start to sweat. I just hate tests.
So, anyway, she ended up passing it, and so at that point, I think we had 90 days. Once we did that, we had 90 days to do the driving portion of it. And you can take the written exam and the driving test 3 times each. You have the ability to fail them twice, and on the 3rd time you have to pass. No, you have to pass within the 3rd time, but then if you fail 3 times on either of them, you have to start over again.
Yeah.
So it's pretty lenient. I think they want you to drive the vehicles, but they also want to know that you can drive them safely, and that's all the test is for. And if you decide to do this, you'll see when you're looking at the information what's happening with that.
And you can't go to just any DPS office to take the road test,
Right.
which is what we found out as well.
And when I started to schedule the road test, because of work obligations and really because of work obligations and our scheduling and everything, we couldn't get a office that would work with us other than the Garland Mega Center, and that's in Garland, Texas, which is to the east of Dallas, right by Lake Ray Hubbard. So it's in a highly lots of population, lots of traffic. It's not really conducive for the RV test where they have that location, etc. But it was the first available that would work within our schedule. If I had it to do again, I probably would have went to a remote testing location somewhere else
Like a
that
rural
does
area.
a rural area.
Yeah.
It would have made it a little bit easier for us. But that's all behind us now. We got over there. We got everything done, and we're also going to talk about or post another video about our the place that we stayed over there. That was really nice. I think people will be interested in that. It's called Lakeshore RV Resort, and it's in Garland.
I did a little video of the park, and so I'm actually editing the video. I started yesterday, so I'll finish it tonight, and then I'll post that on our YouTube channel, so y'all can, if there's anyone who wants to travel there, I highly recommend it for families. It's great.
It was fantastic. Nice resort.
It's just too bad it was right in the middle of the city.
It is. You actually are, because it's called Lakeshore. You're on the shore of Lake Ray Hubbard.
Yeah.
The problem is there's only one thing that we really found wrong with that resort. It's getting into it.
Yeah.
Is extremely difficult, and especially in a big rig like this. It was not easy to navigate the road over there to it, but that's the only difficulty.
And I will preface to say that what we drive is 42 feet long, and then we've got a 22-foot trailer,
Right.
and that makes us over 60 feet, so we're long.
Right, we're right at 65 feet when we have the trailer and the truck. The trailer and the motorhome connected, so. It presents its own problems being that long. But we got in there safely. I'm sure there's a lot of drivers that might be talking about us right now because we slowed them down, but anyway.
We don't care.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. We're just driving safely is all we're trying to do.
So Kevin's going to talk about the differences between a Class A and a Class B license.
And also a Class C, because the Class C is what everybody has. It's
Right.
If you have a driver's license, it's probably a Class C. Lorena and I have started with a Class C, which is for your car, and then a Class M, which is a motorcycle license, and that's the basic license. What I'm going to talk about is the difference between a Class B, which we ultimately got. That's the license we actually got. And then what we applied for was a Class A, and this is where we went. Probably my lack of information or my understanding of the actual regulations is what got me to apply for that originally. But that being said, they also did not correct us when we were at the DPS office in Weatherford when we started this process.
Right.
So, all that being said, we ended up with the Class B, which is completely appropriate for this vehicle. I'm going to read the exact verbiage from this. Let me get my glasses real quick. And then, again, like I said, we'll put the link on there where we got this information. So let's start with the Class B. That authorizes an individual to drive a single vehicle with a gross vehicle weight rating of 26,001 pounds or more, or a single vehicle with a gross vehicle weight rating of 26,001 pounds or more that is towing a vehicle with a gross vehicle weight rating that does not exceed 10,000 pounds, or a farm trailer with a gross vehicle weight rating that does not exceed 20,000 pounds. Those two things right there define our vehicle. Our vehicle is a single vehicle, the motorhome, and the gross vehicle weight rating on it is in excess of 26,001 pounds. That's the first key. And we're towing a vehicle that has a maximum gross vehicle weight rating of 10,000 pounds or less. And that defines our trailer. So the two vehicles, that's a Class B license. Now here's the difference with a Class A. A Class A non-CDL, again, these are both non-CDL. These licenses have nothing to do with commercial driver's license. That's key that you understand that. A Class A gives the ability of a person to drive a single vehicle with a gross vehicle weight rating of 26,001 pounds or more, or a combination of vehicles with a gross cargo weight rating of 26,001 pounds or more, provided the gross vehicle weight rating of the vehicle being towed is in excess of 10,000 pounds. So this vehicle, let's say for example I had this vehicle and it's over 26,001 pounds, which it is. Let's say I was towing a vehicle behind me that had a gross cargo or gross vehicle weight rating of 15,000 pounds. Then I would need a Class A license. So we'll put these links on here. You can go and study them and make your own decision about them. But the one thing that I will tell you is when we were driving our dually and pulling this fifth wheel, we needed a Class A non-CDL license, and we never knew that. We did not realize and understand that. And so I also recommend that you check this information out yourself and make the decision that's correct for you. But now we have an appropriate license, and not only did we want to be safe and understand how to operate the vehicle, but we wanted to be legally licensed so that if for some reason we're in an accident, I don't want it to come back and our insurance say, well, guys, you didn't even have the right driver's license. How are you driving this vehicle? Which could possibly happen.
Or get hit by someone and them try to accuse us of hitting them, and then our insurance not covering the accident.
Right.
So
we were just trying to cover our bases.
And that's just us.
Yep.
We're not saying you have to go and get this special license, but it does give us peace of mind that, you know, we did all the appropriate things, we took the courses, and it makes me feel better knowing that I'm able to handle the rig with the trailer.
Now the other thing too is because we took the safety course, we got a little bit of a discount on our insurance, so that's an added bonus. So anyway, keep that information in mind. I wanted to talk briefly about the course that we drove in Garland. They, I guess if I was going to say from a perspective of me, the consumer, I would say they probably don't do a lot of RV driving tests up there. I'm not sure that they're giving out a lot of those licenses. Maybe because people don't understand that they actually need a different class of license. However, all that being said, the course that they took us on was not conducive for driving this vehicle. They took us through a lot of residential areas, a lot of really tight places that required us to go really slow to clear corners. One of the things that we didn't understand, or I didn't understand, was that if you go up and drive up over a curb, turning a corner or anything, it's an automatic failure. So you've got all those things in the back of your mind when you're doing your test, and so you're driving really cautiously, trying to clear corners and, you know, avoid obstacles like stop signs and light poles and trees and other traffic and everything.
And they actually took us through a residential area, which I would never take our rig with the trailer.
Nope.
Drive through a neighborhood. Because there's tons of low-lying trees, and I was creeping under there because I didn't want our air conditioners to be ripped off the top of our roof.
Right.
And he actually dinged me for that because he told me I was driving too slow in a residential area. But I was not going to drive the 25 or 30 miles an hour through there.
No. Because
it's just way too tight for one.
Well, and you know, when you're doing your test, they tell you not to cross over the lines, that's a point reduction. Mm-hmm. But to avoid some trees and stuff like that, you almost have to drive in the middle of the road to avoid the low-hanging branches on the right side of the road where you're driving at. But anyway, all that being said, they shouldn't have taken us. I don't believe they should take you through that. I could have really come up with a different course that would have been a lot more conducive to understanding how the person driving the vehicle actually operates it than what we did. Yeah. But it was driving in the parking lot. I should have passed just being able to drive in that parking lot where there are things at. I should have gotten 100 just for that.
You do have to learn how to back it up. Yeah. During the test, because they do test you on backing up. And then of course the air brake system, they also ask you questions about that. And
they actually test you on testing the air brake system. Yes. They do a leak test. They want you to do a leak test on the air brake system, and they want you to verify the pressure alarms on the air brake system. Both of those things we had studied because it is in Chapter 5 of the CDL guidelines. So we had studied those, and we had rehearse those basically over and over again.
He's
so
laughing because I swear to you, the night before, that's all I did was dream over and over and over. You know, the clicking of the seatbelt and pushing
you have to
the brake.
You have to do a lot of things to make sure that you're legal when you're doing this, but they don't test you on parallel parking, the trailer and the motorhome. Now, who's to say that they wouldn't do that in your test? But they didn't in ours. And most of the people that we asked in the office, they said, "Oh no, you're not going to be tested over that." They do test you on highway driving, some highway driving, and then we did a lot of back street, and like she said, we went
right turns.
left turn stops, lane changes. They want to make sure that you're doing lane changes smoothly. They're making sure that you're observing your mirrors, that you're using your turn signals. When you're backing, are you using your hazards or your flashers when you back? There was a number of things, but all of that information is covered in the CDL guidelines. And like I said, we'll put a link to that
and if
guideline.
y'all have any questions about the test or you know, about the road test even, don't hesitate to ask questions. We're seeing that people are asking questions, but we can't comment on them because we have our little contraption here set up a certain way, and we don't have any fancy little gadgets to hold our video stuff, so we're making do with what we have. Maybe one day we'll have a little nice setup, but for now it is what it is. But anyway, that's really all that we wanted to cover. We don't want to go babbling on too long. We wanted to make this video at least 30 minutes, and so that's about where we're at. So that's it.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully the information's helpful.
Yeah, and we'll link all the stuff in the comments here in a little bit.
All right.
We'll see y'all later.
Bye.
You guys.